Welcome to the session on changing field and heading labels within Payments to Us. During the session, we'll go about setting up the translation workbench that will enable us to change any field in our managed package and any heading in our managed package. You can also change the section headings, and then we'll go through a section on changing field labels, and finally we'll talk about how you can rename tabs and objects within Salesforce and Payments to Us. Let's start by having a look at a current checkout form. In here you can see a section heading is, like my contact details, transaction details. These are known as custom labels. Also we have fields, so these are on the database object payment transaction, and these are field labels, so we can change any one of these. Of course you can use the normal Salesforce help to override the help wherever you feel like that. So back inside Salesforce, we first need to do a one-time setup to enable the translation workbench. Essentially what we're doing here is we're going to translate from English to English. So I look for company information, and then I look for language settings. I will enable these languages, including English Australian, so I'm going to translate to the Australian English format, and I go save. Then what we do is look for the translation workbench, translation settings. Here I go enable, and now I can add the translation settings that we've previously enabled. So I'm going to enable English Australian here, and then we'll go save. Okay, so that's all the setup that we need to do. Once you've enabled this, you don't need to do this again in your instance of Salesforce. Now what we would like to do is come back here, and we'll start by changing my contact details. And I'll go into, setup, then we go create custom labels. I'll sort it by the value field because I'm looking for the value of my custom labels. I'll start with values of M, and I can see here my contact details. So if I click into this here, now I can see that I've got my local translations and overrides. So I can click on this field here, and I can choose my language, English Australian, and this time I'll put something different. My personal information, for example, and then go save. So now if I come back to the payments form and this time do a refresh on the screen, you'll see that this is now changed to my personal information. Now what we'll do is we'll have a look at the field suburb and town and how we go about changing that. So we start off by going back into Salesforce. We go to Setup, we type in Translate, and we go to the Translate option. I choose English, I select my component. That component will be a custom field. On the payment transaction option. Then I'll locate the field suburb city. Suburb town, and put city in there, save. And now if we go back to our payment transaction form and do a refresh here, now because I've overridden the label here on the payment transaction object, You'll also be able to go back into Salesforce and see that it's changed the labels on the object inside Salesforce. If I go to payment transaction, click into a payment transaction, then scroll down to the address area, I'll see that suburb town has now changed to city as well. Another thing that you may wish to override and personalize is the tabs and labels here. This is using the standard Salesforce rename of tabs and labels. So if I wanted to call subscriptions, say memberships, I can go to Setup, then locate Rename Tabs and Labels. Locate the tab Subscription. Change that to Membership, Memberships, and save. And now you'll see the tab name has changed to Membership. So thank you for listening to this module on changing field names, heading names, and renaming of tabs. Be sure to check out our online resources and other videos at paymentstous.com.